everybody. How are you, Peter?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Gary's just walked in.
Hi there, Jeremy.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Happy Easter. Hope you had a happy Easter.
Indeed I did.
All of that.
Okay.
I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. It is the 28th of April. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. We'll get to the dates later on, but welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Pete, fellow dog lover. Pete, do you across the rescue story of Valerie?
Yes, yes.
Amazing. You know, the lost ducks hunt on Kangaroo Island.
500 and something days.
529 days. No water, no food. She was as perky and as plump as anything. Yeah, a bit of Jack Russell in a duck's hunt. Wow. Speaking of wow, the gold and the glitter, the sheer theatre of the Catholic Church is amazing and always will be. But like the coronation of a king, the death of a queen, it is a spiritual spectacular made for television. The death of Pope Francis, it's a reminder of the pageantry, the pomp, which they keep telling us was toned down. I hate to see one that was toned up. Anyway, it is the tradition of a great religion. I understand that, but I just don't know what God would make of it. The church is an institution, an industry, a huge employer worth billions of dollars, like the English royal family. It is the firm. Now, I don't mind any of that, but I don't know what God would make of it. I don't think anybody's bothered to ask him. But you'd think they would be in regular daily conversation with him, wouldn't you?
Waiting for him to come back, Jeremy.
Yes, yes, well,
Keep your seat warm.
it would be interesting. The virtual War Memorial coming up on the Friday show. Yes, we had Good Friday off and ANZAC Friday off, but we're back with jeremycordeaux.com this coming Friday, and one of my guests will be talking to us about the virtual War Memorial. This is in light of the fact that we're spending $500 million, not that I resent it, $500 million on the extensions to the War Memorial in Canberra. But here's one that's there 24 hours a day, and you can have it in, what's the high potency thing on television?
High definition.
High definition? Anyway. You might like to talk to us about that. We've got lots of other interesting things. Ian Plimer's going to be back with us. 0491 65 68 60 if you'd like to contribute absolutely anything at all. Speaking of the War Memorial, in Melbourne, at the Shrine, at Friday's ANZAC Day ceremony, a watershed moment, I think. A watershed moment. Firstly, I can never remember ever hearing a welcome to country at a dawn service before. Leaving that to one side and the fact that it shouldn't be there in the first place, at such a solemn, sacred moment, booing and jeering has no place. ANZAC Day is when we come together, remember, commemorate, a significant, enormously significant moment in our history and the growth of this great nation. Without reference to race or religion, the welcome to country is going to become more and more contentious. I promise you. Many, including me, have had enough. This silly, condescending protocol, I remind you, is a recent invention. Ernie Dingo made it up as a joke as part of his stand-up routine back in 1972, I think it was. Now this nonsense now turns up everywhere, without rhyme or reason. It's gone too far. The public's had enough. For something that has been twisted around to mean inclusive, it is clearly divisive. Even supporters of welcome to country, acknowledgement to country, have to realise that it is counterproductive. I must say that the Channel 7 leaders' debate on Sunday, just this past Sunday gone by, was the best of those TV events so far. Dutton won it. Well, that's in my opinion, anyway. But the format is the right one. Mark Riley, he's very good. He is really very good. But according to the assessment, Albanese won that debate. Well, there's just this week we're going through, you're watching this, we're posting this on Facebook on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. So there's a bit of time to, if you haven't cast your vote early, there's some time to make up your mind. But seriously, in the privacy of a polling booth, will people vote for 30% higher cost of electricity, 30% higher grocery prices, 30% higher cost of living? Really? Really? And all those political ads, you'd have to be on another planet. You can't avoid them. Political ads, television, prime time, radio, newspapers, social media. Oh, ever wondered where they get all that money from? Well, with Labor, it's pretty simple. It's the trade union movement. Now, why would they shell out that sort of money? Millions and millions of dollars. Why? Well, I'm not saying there's anything corrupt here, but why would they shell all that money out? Because they want and will get a return on their investment. They will get a dividend. We can't be that stupid. Various scare campaigns about the Liberals. The lived experience, I can tell you, of the last 3 years, at least in my house, is pretty bloody scary in itself. I think that's all you need to know and remember. The lived experience. We're not fortune tellers, but we know what's just gone by. I know a very, very funny piece of polling booth graffiti. I think I can do this. It says, a little bit of graffiti, it said, please do not draw dick pics on your ballot paper. Last time it got elected. Why are people so unkind? Gary, why?
Oh, this is brilliant. So true too.
Yeah. The Aboriginal people of Binjari, a place you may never have heard of before, are hopping mad. They were promised $4 billion back in 2024. Binjari and a few other settlements nearby, to alleviate $4 billion, to alleviate acute overcrowding in this small Aboriginal settlement, and some just like it. There, in which up to 15 people will be living in a small house, 7 to a bedroom. We are from the government and we are here to help you. Be very careful if you ever hear that coming out of the lips of a politician or a bureaucrat. A promise made in full view of the media, and not one new house has been built. Anthony Albanese, with the media, turned up to make the promise personally and publicly. Not one home has been built. It is typical of this government. They promise, they lie, they spin, but they don't deliver. If you have any doubts, chat with the people of Binjari, B-I-N-J-A-R-I, I think it is. I'd never heard of the place before. In this election, Labor has promised that they will fund and build tens of thousands of new homes across Australia. Yet, like Binjari, the $10 billion Future Home Building Fund, established by Labor long ago, has yet to build one single home. God, they've got to hide to come around and want a second term. Now, that story about Binjari was a headline, and it was picked up by the ABC. I only saw it once. It was successfully buried by the ABC. And that they should be ashamed of, along with the Labor government's broken promise. We had a dose of honesty from the medical profession last Wednesday. I don't know if you saw it in all its glory. Just in time for the election and just what the doctor ordered. A large survey conducted by the Royal College of General Practitioners has found, after surveying lots and lots of general practitioners, that the promise that 90% of visits to the doctor will be bulk billed. That is free. Well, nothing's free, but it will be taxpayer funded. Anyway, the survey shows that this promise will not happen. This is despite the injection of a further $8.5 billion into Medicare. It is, as I've always said to you, unless the government nationalises the entire medical profession so they can control it, meaning they can tell the doctors what to do and when to do it and how to do it and with whom to do it, it won't happen. It's a dog chasing its tail. At the moment, these people are not doctors anymore. Medicare has turned them into businessmen and women. At our expense, of course. Labor has already socialised medicine with Medicare, and that didn't work, or doesn't work. Now, if you want to tell doctors what to do, the next thing, or the only thing, is to nationalise them. See how that goes down. Well, that's what the socialists did in Brisbane, in Britain, of course. That's the NHS, the National Health Service. Health, like energy, immigration, the NDIS, the economy generally, is a demonstration of Labor's inability to understand the basics. A big part of the problem is that none of them have ever had a real job. I would call it life experience. This last-minute 1-800 Medicare announcement, a sort of a dial a doctor idea, costing some $204 million, I believe. It's just like childcare. They don't understand. It doesn't matter how much money you pour in, the cost will rise accordingly. As Bob Dylan once said, when will they ever learn? He went on to say, the answer's blowing in the wind. God, it is what it is, I suppose. However, let's be positive. Some things that I think this election should be about, but doesn't seem to be. We have to be a country that makes things, invents things, creates things. We used to be. You just can't be a great or self-reliant, self-sufficient country unless you make things, stuff. Incentives and enterprise leads to productivity and prosperity. It boils down to a vision for what can be, not just sustaining what is, but literally, I mean it, creating, inventing the future. And core to this should be, must be, nuclear power. Let's take our heads out of the sand. The left is paranoid about nuclear. No, they don't understand or benefit from nuclear medicine? Really? Lucas Heights, a reactor that's been in Sydney and Sydney suburbia for years, 50 years? Open your mind and broaden your thinking. Labor campaigned for years to stop the development of Roxby Downs, the largest deposit of uranium in the world. And I remember the campaigns. I remember doing the interviews at 5DN all those years ago. Leave it in the ground, they screamed. Ignorant ideology. Come out of the dark age and stop trying to push us into it. Both parties talk about what they will do or what they will give. It's our money anyway. Government would have to do very little if it just got off our backs. They just shuffle our money around through the hands of bureaucrats, telling us that they are economic managers. No, nonsense. They couldn't organise a booze up in a brewery, I don't think. And here's something else. We need to crack down on smuggling. Illicit cigarettes, illegal guns, drugs. Only 10% of containers are inspected. 10% of the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, what am I saying, millions of containers are ever inspected. We need to do better, a lot better. We need truth in political advertising. We need to ban gambling advertising. We need to cut tax, stop waste, and spend more time rewarding and acknowledging the great achievements of our wonderful people. Our universities should be centres of enterprise and invention, not centres of protest, complaint and rebellion. I'll bet you could draw up your own list as well. I'll leave you to do that. We're here with the best wishes of the Rising Sun Inn, ladies and gentlemen, our lovely sponsors, Jim Elder and the Rising Sun Inn. The Rising Sun is at 60 Bridge Street at Kensington, and you can call them, you can call Grant or Jackie on 8333 0721. They will really look after you, but it's always wise to ring and make a booking. The Rising Sun, regularly chosen as the best pub or inn in South Australia, and having been built, as I've said to you before, back in 1845, it's a big year. 2025, it's a big year for them. And Jim Elder Fine Art Gallery in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide, and as soon as this election is over, he will be out with his catalogue for the big auction that'll be coming up fairly soon. 106 and 110 Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. Two beautiful buildings. You can talk to Jim or his lovely wife Helen on 08 8267 2869. And why should you talk to them? Well, if you have a painting, and we all have paintings that have been left to us, or we put them in the attic or the cellar, maybe we aren't in love with them, but they could be worth a fortune. You don't know. Jim was always looking for paintings of distinction or interest, foreign or international paintings or Australian paintings. Anyway, he's inviting people to submit such notable paintings for his 4 auctions this year. Have a talk to him. When you and I get our electricity bills, with this election coming up, days away, the cost of living is the issue. The one thing we know is that this government's obsession with renewables has caused the problem. But they deny it. You know, Albanese looks straight down the barrel of the camera, denies it. There is no doubt. When it comes to global emissions, what we do here in Australia is of no consequence, significance or importance. That is the truth. All the financial pain inflicted by Labor is about their ideology, nothing to do with emissions, demonstrated by the fact that we cannot use our abundant coal, but we're happy, or government is, to sell it to others to use for their benefit. Where is the logic in that? And just for the record, ladies and gentlemen, I have told you this before, and I brought it in again. The EU, the European Union, the EU has 468 coal-fired power stations and is building another 27. Another 27 more, bringing it to a total of 495. Turkey has 56 coal-fired power stations, building 93 more, a total of 149. South Africa has got 79 and is building 24 more, a total of 103. India, well, India has 589 plants and is building 446 more, a total of 1,035 coal-fired power stations. Burning, strange, isn't it? Burning our coal. Wow, but we can't do it. The Philippines, 19, and is building 60, a total of 79 coal-fired power stations. South Korea has got 58 plants and is building 26 more. That's a total of 84, if my maths are right. Japan, 90, and they have nuclear power as well. Japan, 90, building another 45, a total of 135 coal-fired power stations. China, the big kahuna, China has, now wait for this, 2,363 coal-fired power stations and is building 1,171 more, which is a total of 3,534 coal-fired power stations in China. And you know why they're doing that? Because they are interested in keeping their people out of poverty and lifting as many of them as they possibly can into prosperity. Good God. And that's a communist country. Australia, now let's get to this. This is interesting. Australia, struggling with our renewables power bills, we're planning to shut down the 6 measly remaining plants in order to save the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the big question is how quickly we can get rid of this ridiculous government. And here's something else you might like to just check up at your leisure. The founder of the Greenpeace, Dr. Patrick Moore, this is going back a while when he did that. He describes the current move to renewables to reduce CO2 emissions as a fraud. Look him up. Look him up. Hang on, I'll give you a quote here. He says, "I firmly believe that the future will prove that the whole thing about carbon dioxide is a complete fabrication. Not only is carbon dioxide good, it is essential for the existence of the very planet. If we had," he goes on to say, "definitive proof that CO2 was causing a problem, it would be scientifically recorded. It would be written down somewhere, but it isn't. The whole thing about climate change is a complete fabrication." Look him up. Now you'll find this piece that I've got in front of me here. You'll find bits and pieces on him everywhere. YouTube is a very good source. The man knows what he's talking about. I would prefer to believe Dr. Patrick Moore rather than Chris Bowen. I think there's a no-brainer. But if there's one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that would swing my vote, and I think should swing yours, one thing, if you had to pick one thing, that's one flag. One flag. Just one. The great Australian flag. This flag is a symbol of unity. This government has chosen not to have one, but 3 flags. A symbol and a demonstration of disunity. God, the only country in the world that would do something like that. No shame, no embarrassment, just blundering on. We haven't heard a lot from either party about the NDIS. Keeping away from that. I drive around, I see some cars and trucks and things and shop windows and whatnot with "We love the NDIS." Yes, and I can imagine you do, and I can imagine why. God. We haven't heard too much comment from either party about the ageing population, particularly self-funded retirees. Well, we get ignored all the time. Nobody talks to us or says anything too much. Speaking of pensioners, we should adopt the New Zealand system, where everybody gets the pension at the age of 65, with no restriction on the ability one has to earn whatever he or she likes, go on working, change jobs, whatever. It will not affect your pension. Now, if they can do it, why can't we? No one talks about abolishing bracket creep.
50 years of age in China.
50 years if you make it.
Just thought I'd throw that in.
Okay. You can retire in China at 50?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know that. I'd get stuck into government waste, an education system that produces kids who can't read, write or add up. Got to do something about that. How about going to the people and committing yourselves to cutting the cost of electricity, which of course brings down the cost of everything. And keep in mind, if we stay with Labour's renewables policy, as St Vincent de Paul said the other day, in the next 4 years electricity charges will double. Now, I don't think that that would be sustainable. We just can't live with that. But we can't say we haven't been warned. A lot of stuff on housing, but no one talks about the problem of the CFMEU and just how they drive up the cost of construction. When Labor won the last election, the union demanded that they remove the cop on the beat on building sites. Now, I wonder why any rational government would have done that. Interesting. Pete, how much time have I got?
Well, a little bit.
A little bit. All right. Anthony Albanese has declared he does not know the name of the Greens candidate contesting his seat of Graindler in New South Wales. When asked why he had directed voters to put her second on their ballot paper, and he doesn't even know her name, which leads me to think he doesn't know what she stands for. Well, her name, let me tell you, Prime Minister, her name is Hannah Thomas. Quite a controversial candidate, by the way. She said some outrageous things about Israel and the Jewish community, including calls for Australia to sanction the Jewish state. Why would Albanese advise his supporters to put the Greens candidate as their second choice in his own seat, their second preference, when he claims he doesn't even know her name? That's extraordinary. Do you believe him? And who else has reported this interesting little story, this inconvenient truth? And just quickly, for those anti-colonialists, those people who don't like colonisation or whatever label you want to give it, something to think about. When the British ran India, the Raj, it commanded 30% of global GDP. 30%. Do you know what it commands today? 3%. I wonder if anyone is particularly, I suppose, in India, interested in that little fact. But you can look it up. I find it interesting. I want to talk to you about this, but we'll do it on Friday. I want to talk to you about this slaughter of koala bears. No, they're not bears, of course, but koalas. Pete spends a lot of time rescuing koalas. Well, they've been, in the Victorian government, have been shooting them out of trees. It's a very disturbing story. And it's a disgusting story, in fact. And it's one that they really didn't want to get out. And they must be incredibly naive to imagine that you can hire sharpshooters and put them in helicopters and go out there and shoot 750 koalas and that story wouldn't get out. We'll talk about that on Friday. I will look forward to you tuning in. You just go to jeremycordeaux.com, 9 to 12, live streaming, lots of guests. The day before the election, so we will be outrageously political. That blackout thing it used to be, the electronic blackout, that doesn't exist anymore, does it?
No, what happened to that?
Oh, I think there was a great big fuss about getting rid of it, and so they should. We should be able to talk about on radio and television, electronic media, in detail, things political before an election. Very important. Now, happy birthday. If we've got any time, or we've got any battery left, Pete?
Yeah, we're okay.
We're okay? All right. Okay, April 18. Let's see. 1770 was the year. Captain James Cook aboard HMAS, oh no, there wasn't an A in there back then, HMS Endeavour, first lands in Australia at Botany Bay. 1770. Few years before 1788. 1789, Fletcher Christian made or staged a mutiny on HMS Bounty against William Bligh, who later became the governor of the country. Same day, different year. 1996, in Australia's worst massacre in modern history, Martin Bryant shoots and kills 35 people in Port Arthur in Tasmania. Leads to a compulsory gun buyback program and major changes to gun laws in Australia. That was this day, April 28, in 1996. I see events all over the world. In fact, there were two that I'm thinking of, and there's an inquiry into the Bondi shopping centre massacre. And the one thing that comes out over and over again, he's well known to police and he has a record of mental illness, mostly schizophrenia. Has anyone thought about banning schizophrenics? Why banning guns and knives? What the hell? That's not the problem. Mental illness is the problem. Jay Leno. I'll probably get into trouble for saying all of that. Jay Leno, 1950, American comedian and TV talk show host, The Tonight Show, born in New York, 1950. God, he's younger than I am.
Exactly the same age as me.
Oh, well, there you go. He's got more cars than anybody.
Only because he can.
Yeah, well, look. Europe's first, speaking of cars, first motoring competition is won by the Marquis d'Eon in a steam-powered quadricycle built by French toy maker and engineer Georges Bouton. French newspaper organised the test. However, the one inconvenient thought here is that Bouton was the only participant in the race.
They fly, stick.
Well, he won.
They fly.
Yeah. Okay, look, don't say that too loudly, for God's sake. We've got to get rid of the electric ones, but then we'll get rid of the steam ones. Oscar Schindler, the Austrian businessman, and subject of the novel Schindler's Ark, and the film Schindler's List, was born in Austria on this day in 1908. a real humanitarian. 1937, the first commercial flight across the Pacific operated by Pan Am. That was this day in 1937. Charles Sturt, this is the electorate of Sturt, by the way, English explorer, was born in Bengal, British India. Died in 1869, born this day in 1795. World War II. Now that's interesting. World War II, titled, as a result of a Gallup poll. Well, if you had World War I, it would seem pretty logical that you'd call the next one World War II. But anyway, they had a Gallup poll, and that was the popular decision. This day in 1942, they came up with World War II. Coming up with it was one thing, winning it was a little harder. Anne Margaret, Swedish actress, Bye Bye Birdie. Viva Las Vegas! A lover of Elvis Presley too, I do believe. Grumpy Old Men, she was in that. She was very good. 1941, born in Sweden. And media proprietor Rupert Murdoch, 26, weds second wife, journalist Anna Torv. She was only 22, divorced in 1999. 1967. Oh, God, I well remember that. I was working with Anna Torv's brother. No, it wasn't Hans, it was another brother, John Torv, at 2GF in Grafton. And he arrived at the radio station, 2GF, and because, you know, you work in country radio, you're as poor as a church mouse, barely have enough to eat. True. And he rolled up in a green MGB and startled the life out of all of us. And we said, well, how did you do this? We didn't know his sister had married Rupert Murdoch. That's what he said. He said, oh, my sister just married Rupert Murdoch. Now, how that translated into an MGB for her brother, I have no idea. I refuse to join the dots. All right. Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you on Friday 9 to 12, and we'll be back with another posting on Facebook tomorrow, Tuesday, next week, 9 o'clock, and it'll be put out by Andy Martin in all his various platforms, podcasting platforms. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Thank you, guys. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.